In this video, we're going to be talking about the truth that sets you free. It's going to help you realize why certain things may not be going as well as they should. And it has to do with your assumptions, your desires, and this particular truth. I'll be talking about steps that you can take in terms of applying this truth for how you shape your reality, what you'd love to create, and how you make your desires come to life. I'm Fazila Bizior. Welcome to the Inner Work Mastery channel, where I help you understand the law of assumption, teachings from Neville and other mystics, so that you can shape your reality to become the master of your fate. Let's get into this week's video. In terms of operating the law of assumption and the method of operating the law, this becomes quite important if you are to master your manifestation and your creation abilities. Many people will struggle with this truth because they cannot understand how it is that they are creating situations where it's negative or circumstances that really are unwelcomed in their lives. When you get to learn this truth and you remind yourself of where you are creating from, you can actually change anything in your life. I will help you understand how this particular aspect of the law can either become your greatest victory or your biggest challenge. Neville talks about the truth that sets you free. Now, knowledge of the law and the method of operating the law becomes key. Why should you bother with this? Well, it is control over creation. And this mechanism of creation is deep within the subconscious. I'll be linking in another of Neville's book, Feeling is the Secret, so you can understand how and what you should be doing in terms of applying the law. What greater gifts can you be given than to be told the truth that will set you free? And setting you free means that you now have the power and the responsibility of creating your own life. So we see at the beginning of this chapter that the drama of life is a psychological one. I want to put this into context for you in terms of what this means. The drama of life is a psychological one. By understanding that the drama, what are all of those things that are exciting, emotional, or unexpected events in our life, arises from our mind, the mental, emotional state of our being. We then see that all conditions, circumstances, and events in our life are brought to pass by our assumptions. In the previous video, in chapter 3 of The Power of Awareness, Neville goes into detail in terms of assumptions. And assumptions being a thing accepted as certain or true to happen without evidence or proof. The drama that occurs in our outer world, which may lead many to think that life is happening to them because of external circumstances. This is where we must realize that life is not happening to you. Life is happening through you and as you. Since life is determined by your assumptions, we are then forced to recognize that we are either a slave to our assumptions or we become the master of our assumptions. And this is what we are to be looking at. What is the truth that will set us free? So if you have an idea of what this truth is that will set you free, write it down. Even if you are familiar with Neville Goddard's work, it's a good exercise to actually remind yourself of these very key principles and foundations. This truth is actually the key to your freedom and happiness that you are yet to dream of. If we are to continue with old thinking, old feelings, and old patterns, we cannot hope to achieve our greatest desires and be fulfilled by them. And we know that you cannot put new wine into old skins. You cannot ask for your new desire and try and create from the old way of thinking. Every state is already there as mere possibilities as long as we think of them. So what Neville says here is that if you are only to think about a desire and think of it, like thinking about getting a new car, but you don't really feel it as real for you, it will only remain a possibility. But when you are to think from that desire, become overpoweringly real when we think from that state. What Neville talks about here is becoming a match to your resigned will. Now, your resigned will is your self-concept and your assumptions. To become a match according to your resigned will was actually something that ancient teachers called subjection to the will of God, or resting in the Lord. Now, we know that the Lord, God, your imagination, is where everything actually is created from. And so all those who rest in that desire, all those who resign their will, no longer having to put in any effort, when your changed self-concept and your assumption, you've accepted a thing as being true. When you rest in your imagination, you rest in that image of that which you desire, you are now thinking from the wish fulfilled. You become a match according to your resigned will. And your resigned will is the concept of yourself and all that you consent and accept as true. When you know the truth that sets you free, you actually hold the key to the solution of all your problems. There is this thing that Neville talks about, which is the redemptive function of imagination. Redemption means to attain. And so your imagination has the means and the ability to attain anything you desire. The one thing you must do, though, is feel within yourself the thing that you desire or you want to be. You must feel it within yourself. This thing that you desire, you must become that person. Because every phase of your life is made by the exercise of your imagination. Every single thing started out as a thought. Every single thing started out as a feeling, a desire. And you persist in your imagination, and you know that your imagination alone is the means of attaining that which you desire. You then progress into fulfilling your dreams, because imagination is the beginning and the end of all creating. So in this chapter, knowing that your imagination is the giver of all gifts, Neville speaks about the great secret through which you can attain those gifts. So the great secret is controlled imagination and persistent attention, strongly focused on the desired outcome. In order to achieve and attain your wish fulfilled, in order to have your desire, you must have a disciplined or controlled imagination and be persistent in terms of where you focus your attention. So the first step, always, 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 is you create the ideal. What is it that you desire? When you answer that question and you know that there is a strong burning desire, so you create that ideal within your mental sphere, within imagination. You assume that you are already that which you desire. You assume that you have already attained your ideal. You then become identified with it. So what Neville speaks about here is to identify is to shift your concept of self. When we do not have the desire, for example, if you were wanting to have a special person, your SP in your life, and you wanted to be married, you must shift your self-concept away from the one who still thinks of themselves as single. And you now think from the perspective of how would it feel if I were married? So how would it feel when I am married? How would that look for me? What would change in my life? What choices would I be making as a married person? So you no longer would think as a single person. All thoughts and feelings as one who is single will have to be changed. And you have to catch yourself in that process. And that's what Neville talks about, is control your imagination in terms of the thoughts and the feelings. And you persist. Your focus, your attention must be on your ideal. So here is, and then the next part that helps us to control our imagination and persist in our focused attention, is that you must fill your mind with the new idea until it crowds out and it pushes out any other ideas of lack out of your consciousness. So in the example of someone who's wanting to be married and they're currently single, you would stop the feelings that you would have as a single person, which means you now would think of yourself as being married in imagination. When you drop into the mental sphere, you would experience yourself as a married person. What are some of the things you would do together with your partner? How would that feel? Drop into the joy, drop into the gratitude, drop into the fun. Whatever that might be for you now that you can tune into is what you've got to keep bringing into your imaginal space when you go into the state akin to sleep, or if your thoughts go to feelings of lack, got to remind yourself, I no longer am that person. I am a happily married man or woman who is adored, appreciated, and loved. And this is how you transform yourself into the image of that what you want. Thinking from would be, in this case of marriage, is knowing that the ring you have on your finger, when you can feel the ring, when you can actually in your imagination feel yourself touching it, you bring your senses into your imagination, you bring your senses into this drowsy state where you look and you see, where you see and you feel and you know that you're already married. Now from the first person, you would only from through your eyes, you would be looking at your hands and you would see the ring on your finger. Do not do this from a third person perspective. The third person perspective is watching yourself looking at the ring. This is not how you will form the imaginal scene in your visualization. You are now to only feel, see, and experience it as if you are in the movie. We see that this truth that sets you free is that you experience in imagination what you desire to experience in reality. If you want to be married, you must experience within yourself what that reality would already be like. It all happens within. By maintaining this experience in imagination, your desire will become an actuality. You can attain mastery by deliberate, conscious control of your imagination. You determine your assumptions in this way. You form a mental image. This is a picture of your desired state, the person you want to become. You concentrate your attention, and your attention must be upon the feeling that you are already that person. So even in the case of someone wanting to have money, they can no longer think from the state of lack. They must start to feel what it would be like to have the money they desire. Visualize the picture in your consciousness. Feel yourself to be in that state as though it was actually already in your world. So if you're not aware of how feeling is the secret and how to bring this feeling state into your reality, watch my video, Feeling is the Secret, chapter 1, which is about the law and its assumptions. Neville speaks about feeling, and he says the control of feeling is not meant to restrain or suppress your feeling, but it's rather you discipline yourself to imagine and entertain only that feeling which is contributing to your happiness. In other words, if you are to constantly go back to, I do not have, you're going to bring in feelings of unhappiness, dissatisfaction, disillusionment, etc. When you go into your imaginal space, you do not take any of that in with you. And so in Feeling is the Secret, we see that ideas are impressed on the subconscious through the medium of feeling. This is something that you must take into account, is that no idea can be impressed on the subconscious until it is truly felt. Once it is truly felt, whether it's good or bad or indifferent, the subconscious accepts it. It must be expressed. What you must really become aware of then is, what are you impressing on your subconscious? And so it's very important that if you have strong feelings around any events in your life, be aware that that is what you will be impressing into your subconscious, and the subconscious, which has no filter, will express it into your life. And that is the challenge around this truth, that what you create, what you impress into your subconscious mind is what is going to be expressed. Many of my clients have a difficult time actually accepting that they've created bad events or negative circumstances in their life. And it is because of this particular aspect of how the subconscious works, is that they felt they had this feeling of dissatisfaction or say upset or hurt or regret. And that was so strong that it impressed into the subconscious mind, particularly when you are about to go to sleep. And if you take with you all of the challenges, the fears, the doubts into the drowsy state or the theta state, sleep is the gateway to the subconscious. And if you are not familiar with how this works, I encourage you to please look at Feeling is the Secret. There are four short chapters in Feeling is the Secret, but it's packed with a lot of understanding of how the subconscious works and what you are to do in terms of using this amazing and what it is that you are to do in order to utilize the gateways to manifest your desires. Because you are only limited by your uncontrolled imagination and the lack of attention to the wish fulfilled. You are desiring marriage, but your feelings are being triggered by being single. Because Neville says when the imagination is not controlled and the attention is not steadied on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, no amount of praying, affirmations, or anything else is going to create the desired effect. Because consciousness is the cause as well as the substance of the entire world. Your consciousness is constantly creating everything in your world. Therefore, it is to consciousness that we must turn to if we are to discover the secret of creation. And now you know that you can call up whatever image it is that you please. And when the forms of your imagination are as vivid to you as the forms of nature. So what you are to do is in your imagination, you are to feel it is already real. When you can call up at will, when you are disciplined and you control your imagination and you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and you can call that desire up at will, you will then start to feel that that form in imagination is already real. And it will be as real to you as something that is found outside in nature. When you can do this, you are the master of your fate. Now, one of the things that happens initially, I have clients who say, but it feels like lying. Well, if you are in a state of lack and you believe that it is true, aren't you lying to yourself? Because the world is abundant. We have everything that we could possibly desire. Where's the lie? The lie is in what you have assumed about your current state of reality. So when you go into that imaginal space, the dimensionally larger space, the quantum, the universe, your consciousness has everything available in order to create the life you would love to have. Where you're finding the challenge is what you're seeing in your 3D reality. Now, your 3D reality is simply a picture of all of your old thoughts and assumptions and your old self-concept. Now go and change your thoughts, go change your assumptions, change your self-concept, and you become the master of your fate. It is going to take you some practice and time. Generally, if you are first conditioning yourself to accept and consent to this new desire, it's going to feel like you're lying. However, again, I will ask you, if where you're at does not feel good, isn't that a lie? Because you can actually create your own reality. So become disciplined and you'll become the master of your fate. I will encourage you to test the law. It is the only way that you're going to prove for yourself that you can create all that you'd love to have in your reality. To become the master of your fate, you must stop spending your thoughts, your time, and your money. From now on, look at everything in life as an investment. Remembering that The Power of Awareness was written in 1952, this is just an elaboration from Awakened Imagination that he wrote in 1954, where he would write, on the morning of April 12th, 1953, my wife was awakened by the sound of a great voice of authority speaking within her, saying, you must stop spending your thoughts, time, and money. Everything in life must be an investment, because to spend is to waste. It's to squander, to lay out without return. To invest is to lay out for a purpose from which a profit is expected. This revelation to my wife is about the importance of the moment. It is about the transformation of the moment. It is only what is done now that counts. Whenever we assume the feeling of being what we want to be, we are investing, because that investment is going to bring a return, and that return is your desired outcome. So remember, you form the mental image. You must, in this mental image, now I have other videos that talk about how you are to enter the state, how you use your senses to encourage the vividness and the reality in your imagination, because the subconscious does not know whether something has happened or not. And so understand how the subconscious works. You'll find that in my videos on Feeling is the Secret. And when you learn how the subconscious and the conscious mind works, you will then be able to create anything you desire. So thus far, with the power of awareness, you will see that you'll find in my previous videos, I have combined chapter 1 and 2 on understanding the impact of I am and how to use the creative power to magnetize and attract your desired reality. Chapter 3, the power of assumption to manifest. So if you want to know more about assumption, go to chapter 3, and it'll be an earlier video of mine. Chapter 4 is understanding your desires, why nothing can happen until you yourself are very clear and you have a strong burning desire. And this chapter is the truth that sets you free. There is only one cause, and that is your controlled imagination. So start to rearrange your mind to understand and apply how you can create your reality as of right now. You need not wait to start for a particular time or space. Everything is created from within, because what is within shows up without. If you have any questions, pop them down below and let me know how you're applying these teachings. And also, are there things that you've seen shift in your reality? Do let me know. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that you can stay up to date with my latest videos that I bring out on reality creation, using the law of assumption, and how to master your reality. Thank you for joining me. This is Fazila. I will see you in the next video.